Hey everyone, welcome to another typology interview. We have Shelby. How's it going?
Hey, Benjamin, good. Thank you for having me here. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, welcome. Thank you for coming. So let's just start with your
Sure.
background in typology,
Okay.
and lead up to what your functions are after. Yep.
Okay. So I think I first found out about, or I was first introduced into the whole typology world maybe about 10 years ago. I was in college and, everyone was doing the Myers-Briggs test, just like a fad. And so I did it as well. And the type I got is just laughable now. But, I don't know if that many people who actually score their correct type, especially when you're young. I think that, you
Right.
know, your mindset changes a lot. But I kind of did it for fun and then dropped it. But I've always had an interest of like trying to learn more about myself, growth mindset, I found a system that could help me. So I wanted to learn about it more. So it was right after college, I got more into like, the Enneagram and Myers-Briggs. And I was really trying to learn about the cognitive functions. And so within this last year, um, I did not understand Myers-Briggs, and so I went on a quest to figure out more about it. And so, how I stumbled upon OP, I was just looking on YouTube, Googling or YouTube searching. I don't know the correct terminology. Different functions. What is FE? What are all these different things? And I found Dave's videos, and this was at the beginning of January of this year. And so I immediately watched all of them and I was like, oh, wow, this is awesome. And I saw that he had a website. So I went to the website, signed up for the class, and I've just been trying to learn everything over the last couple months. And I finally bit the bullet and I got typed and I got my type back last week.
Wow. Congrats. Thank you. Okay, so a couple things I
Yeah,
noticed
thanks.
there. I'll just point it out. I'm seeing a lot
Okay.
like your consume. Your consume is really strong. What you were talking about. Um, the way you were
Yeah, you're
consuming.
not
It's
wrong.
just yeah. And then I was seeing sensory, so that would put you SE, I guess. Is that correct? Like one of your saviors is SE at
Yeah.
least? Yeah.
Yes, I do have
Okay.
SE.
Awesome. Um, okay. So that's the one part I saw so far. It seems to be also I can't get masculine or feminine because well, you did have the timeline. So I would put more money on masculine, but it's very iffy for me at the moment. Yeah.
All right, you're fast.
Yeah.
You got this
Okay.
down. Yeah,
All right.
picked it up.
Okay. So masculine SE. The other thing I didn't see a lot of. I saw double observing a little bit, but I'm not sure yet. So do you want to tell me a little bit about SE and how it fits into your life, how you see it, how you recognize it?
Yeah, just curious, like, how did you see double observing?
Um, you were telling about your worldview, and you were telling about what you were consuming, what the new information, and you were just giving the process of updating your worldview in terms of that double observing, in terms of, all right, I got the patterns of Myers-Briggs. It wasn't enough. I needed to get more, and now I got more. I got the cognitive functions. Like you were going back and forth. It's hard for me to explain properly, but that's sort of the process I was seeing
Hmm.
a little bit.
So, in your opinion, just from your experience of seeing, let's say if it was single observing, you can notice a difference. Like, how would that conversation have been different?
It would have been less narrowing down, I think. Yeah. You were talking about the narrowing down.
Hmm.
And so like that's I know you're SENI already. So yeah, that's why I'm thinking you
Yeah,
yeah. Like SE is
yeah.
just
I'm not
yeah.
trying to quiz you.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see all these things in myself as well. And sometimes it's
Right.
hard. Like double observing was one of the things that, going into this, I didn't really understand what it was. And I was like, what does this mean? So hearing you say something like that, now I can go back and look for it and take that pattern and yeah, take my NI pattern and go look at everything else. So that's
Right.
helpful.
Yeah. So
Um,
even what you did just here, like just questioning the what I was asking, challenging me. That's first of all, that's consume. That's really
yeah.
good. A little bit. Yeah.
Okay.
And then It's really weird. Because you're asking me for reasons, right? That's thinking.
I have
But
thinking
it seems more
somewhere.
like
Yeah.
yeah, it seems more like TE. I mean, it seems more like TE. Okay. Anyways, you were talking, but you were about. So just now you were also balancing it because you were asking me what was I seeing. Help me with my demon and I fit this double observing concept. Yeah.
Yeah. That makes
Anyways,
sense.
we'll move on of it. Yeah. So how do you recognize your SE a little bit?
How do I recognize my SE? Um, it's hard for me to pinpoint it apart from the animals. Um, but I definitely, I mean, if you're just going by the terms, like I gather and it's sensory, it's not concepts. Like, um,
Yeah.
hmm.
Do you
I
feel
mean,
like
I
you're,
guess I can, oh, I guess I
yeah,
can
we got a
just talk
delay
more. I
going.
mean, since you know I'm consumed, I can talk about some of the SE things I consume. Maybe that'll help.
Right.
Um, like I like to cook, um, listen to music, watch TV shows, podcasts, YouTube videos. I'm into fitness and exercise, and so I enjoy consuming things regarding to that. I cook a lot. I like to cook many different types of things. I'm sure I'm just spelling out all my functions. It's so funny now because every time I speak, I'm so cognizant of everything I'm saying. It still just kind of blows my mind. But
Yeah.
yeah, I guess the things that I consume are very tangible and sensory related items.
Yeah. So it was pretty broad what you were talking about consuming. Like it wasn't just a one thing. Is you had a few things, and then the other thing is
Yeah.
consume isn't just what you're consuming, or like that you are consuming, right? It's I find that it's more being open to yeah, being open to updating your worldview, which which I'm wondering how you relate to that. Do you relate to being open to new ideas, updating your worldview, or do you feel like you're really set in your ways?
No, I do see it. I do think I am open. I think that's part of my journey for like wanting to figure this stuff out because
Right.
I do want to know. And if I just look at like me and my husband has not been typed, but like I look in context of the two of us and just like they say you're typically attracted to your opposites. Like I don't see some of the same things in me that I see in him. And so that helps me see it more in myself that I am more open to things and I do want to learn more. Ending your worldview. How do you see that as a TISE? Like, how do you expand your worldview just on a daily basis?
Okay, so I could just tell you what I see and consume is that I'm always it's like where am I pointing at the information? Where's the information coming from? And someone always asking me questions, I'm gonna usually point to something I consumed in the end, right? That's where consume comes in. So it's like, okay, how did you get to this conclusion? How did you get to this? I'm gonna point to the consume, and I'm gonna not interpret the consume. I'm gonna leave it as pure as possible because I feel like people can come to their own conclusions, right? And that's kind of like the openness thing is like I don't want to interpret it, I don't want to change it. So I'm wondering, do you relate to that in some way?
Um, I do. I do. That's not something I've really processed a lot, and so I'm definitely going to. But it's like I can recognize those patterns, but I don't know quite yet how to give you exact examples of how I've done
Right.
that.
Yeah. um SE is also it's also trying to be very objective in the sensory, in the sense that a lot of SE people will be super aware of how subjective sensory is. Um, and because of that, they're going to be more objective. They're going to try to get rid of this subjectivity in it. So they'll feel like it's subjective in some way. But I mean, if you were to witness a robbery or something like this, and you had 10 people witnessing it, the people with higher SE will usually agree on the robbery, even though they haven't talked or anything like that. They'll usually agree. Whereas people with demon SE or even SI are going to have very individualistic experiences. And when you're talking about the stuff you're consuming and stuff like that, you're not saying your experience in the consuming. You're not talking about even your experience in typology. You're talking about the details, not less about the sensory that you went through, the experience you went through, but more about oh, here's one detail, I did this, and you're filling in the holes, right, of the stuff you've experienced. Yeah. So I'm just wondering, do you
Yeah,
relate
that's a
to?
good
Do you have
perspective.
something on that? Yeah. Do you have something on that a little bit on how maybe
Um,
you feel like you're subjective on the sensory or objective on the sensory or something like this?
um, I don't know if the masculine, feminine, directly corresponds with the subjective, objective, but I mean, you kind of guessed on it earlier, like my sensory is masculine. So I do feel like I might be a little bit more objective on the sensory. I don't know if that
Yeah.
contradicts your theory or if
No,
I'm just
if it contradicts, that's
not
fine too.
understanding it
Yeah, but it's
correctly.
not contradicting. Like, when you're cooking, do you feel like you use recipes? Do you feel like you taste the food as you're going along? I think, did we freeze? Did you hear what I said?
Okay. Uh, okay.
I think we're frozen. Did you hear what I said at all? Did my question?
Yeah. So basically, my process for that is um, the majority of my cooking, I will meal prep for the week for my husband and I. And so typically on yes, I heard what you said.
Oh wow, that's a
Can you
huge
hear me?
delay. Yeah, I can hear you just fine. It's just a really big delay. Sorry. I asked that like a while back.
Can you hear me?
um,
Can you am I still there?
yeah, you're here. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So I'm gonna just drop and
Should
come
I
back in.
keep talking?
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, if anyone's watching, can you tell us what it looks like from your end? What's going on? Can you hear me now? Is it better?
Yeah,
No.
I've heard you the whole time. I don't think you've heard me.
No, I heard you the whole time too. Yeah. It's just the delay is so huge that it seemed like I wasn't answering you directly.
Oh, so should we just try to keep going?
Yeah, let's try. Let's power through it. Yeah.
Okay. I'll go back to the cooking thing.
Yeah.
Um, I guess the way that I structure my approach to cooking, I will usually on like Thursday or Friday, because I like to go to the grocery stores on Friday. On Thursday, I'll look through Pinterest for recipes that look appealing to me, and then I get ideas from that. I don't typically follow recipes 100%. I just use it as a framework to base something off of, just because I have had years of cooking experience. Like, I understand, maybe if you don't cook a lot, you need to follow step by step, but I kind of just get the gist of it. So I'll look forward to the week ahead and think, okay, like how much food do I need? What are our plans? Like, are we going out to eat with people? What all do we have? And then I'll plan out exactly how much food, like how the quantity of the ingredients and the types of foods we eat. We're pretty easygoing on food. Like we can eat the same thing most days. And so I'll create a list of everything I'm going to make. And then I buy the food and then I cook it, and I cook it all in big batches so that I don't have to cook every day.
Yeah. Again, it's really cool to see that, again, it's SE going on there. Like it seemed like you were leaving out, like, okay, so from an SE perspective, it's exactly the way I want to consume stuff. But from an SI perspective, it would be like you were leaving out details. You were like just very scattery on your details, and you're expecting the person to, put the details together on their own. It wasn't, you weren't giving over an interpretation of the cooking. You were just, this is just point of fact here. This is what's happening. Like, this is the way I
Yeah.
cook. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I see that for sure. I don't give, just in general, like I explain cooking like I explain most other things. Yeah, I don't feel the need to give an exact step by step, just because for me, unless I was looking up like a how-to video, I might want step by step, but I just don't really see that it's necessary, because with the double observing, like I can put things together.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so I was seeing the consume. I was and I'm starting to see as well the self above tribe. It's a lot of like you had the opportunity to involve the tribe in your cooking and stuff like that, like talking about them, and like you mentioned a little bit the tribe, but not so much, right? It was more like self-reporting sort of thing. So I would wager that you're self above tribe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I saw the FITE axis. I saw a little bit of FI, but you're not really overtly FI all the time. It's not, you're not oozing FI for some reason. You're more doing the double observing that I'm seeing. Yeah. I'm just wondering if you identify with that, if that's what you got.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
identify with that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely like as an afterthought, I do consult the tribe. Like I will ask my husband, what do you want to eat? But his answer is the same. I don't care. That's what he says. And
Yeah.
so like I'll still ask just because it's polite, I guess. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's all like in my language that I do kind of I guess I am the authority.
Right. Yeah. You're the authority over. Yeah. Okay. So FI I've seen as priorities. Have you identified that as priorities? Um, are you aware of your priorities and also intentions as well? DI in general, I've seen as intentions. So are you aware of your own intentions all the time versus your actions, or do you have a different take on that? So we'll do one question at a time.
Yeah, I think I am aware of my intentions. They might not always be good intentions, but yes, I'm
Oh,
always
wow.
aware of um, how I'm feeling. It's like I don't always express it, but yes, I know what I'm feeling. I know what I'm thinking. I know my intentions for things, my priorities. It can be sometimes my priority verbalize my priorities can be slow, or like making a decision can be slow. We were talking about earlier, like where do we want to go for dinner, and it's between these two places and I can't decide because they're both so good. um so but it's like I think
Yeah,
there's
that
always
feels like a
something.
narrowing. It feels like a narrowing down issue more than a, yeah.
Yeah, it's not about like
Yeah.
what do I like better, it is more like how do I choose, can we go to both?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Um, can you take me through the process of priorities and reprioritizing? Okay. So like, is that masculine FI as well?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So can you take me through the process of prioritizing things? How do you prioritize? How do you know your priorities? How do you even use priorities to make a decision?
um I use priorities. I think when I am prioritizing, I look at both thinking and feeling. So I'm not just going to make a decision based on the way that I feel. I think that's illogical, and that it won't get you anywhere productive. I like for things to make sense and I want them to be productive. And so when I'm prioritizing, like I might make a list of like why should I do this? Or if it's a decision like, should I buy this? Like, I will consult my budget. Like, do we have this in the budget? Does it make sense for us? Does it work for, our needs? But deep down, I know, like, if I'm buying something, I know what I like better, but I'm not just going to go off my instinct of what do I like better. Like, it still has to make sense. So I
Right.
think, I mean, I do see that I do lean more towards the FI, but my TE is extremely strong. Like, I wouldn't
Yeah,
make a
yeah.
decision that didn't make sense.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because I was seeing that TE poke out a little bit, but yeah. Okay. Um, what what are your priorities? Are your priorities based on like a certain realm? Like, okay, cooking, you have priorities, relationships, you have priorities, or do they all interlink, or how do you see that work?
I guess they do all interlink. I don't really spend time thinking about how they all interlink, but I guess they do because Um, like for example, so I like cooking and then I also like exercising. So what I cook might be contingent upon like what are my exercise goals, Like if I spend a lot of time exercising, I want my cooking to be reflective of that. I want it if I'm going to exercise, I want to eat healthy food. Um, and same with um like family is very important to me. And so um hmm,
Yeah, that's
kind of a
interesting
hard
how like
question.
okay, because like there's the likes, right? So you might like food, but you also prioritize health. And so you would sacrifice your likes for your priority,
Okay, yeah.
right?
Most of the
And
time.
yeah. Okay, so like masculine FI, lead FI, I'm assuming lead FI just because of the double observing thing. Um, you would be it would be hard for you to go against a priority in order for just to satiate a like or something like this, right? Like,
Yes, yes,
yeah.
very much. Yeah, like I guess I'll go again with a budget thing. It's fall, and so all the stores are bringing out their fall decorations, and I like to decorate my house for the fall. I think it's really fun. You get pumpkins, and you can get like I put an orange wreath on my door. I got different things to put above my kitchen sink and but besides my TV, like different trinkets around my house. But I still have a budget category for that and I'm going to stick to it. And so I could just go and spend, $500 at Hobby Lobby buying stuff and it would be fun in the moment, but I would completely regret it later. So yes, I might like something and I might want to buy more, but I'm not going to if it goes against my priority of sticking to our budget.
Hmm. Yeah, really well explained. Um, and in terms of actions, I guess, versus intentions, do you feel like if you've made proper intentions, then the actions will just be right? Like you'll have good actions if you have good intentions, or do you see like a dissonance there?
I don't think that's necessarily true. I think sometimes
Right.
I do have good intentions, but my actions won't follow, like I still have an animalistic instinct. Like I consciously say like I still obviously act on impulse, act on my FI unconsciously, but consciously if I'm like stopping and taking the time to think about it, then I won't. But I think in theory it should, but it doesn't always work out like that.
Yeah. Okay. So when you're talking about your animalistic impulse, okay, you associated that with FI, even though okay. So from my understanding, the animalistic impulse is just present in everybody. We all have this animalistic impulse, and I'm starting to see maybe now it's just an idea that you're more aware of that animalistic impulse as an FI rather than maybe me as a TI. Do you feel like
Yeah.
you're quite aware of that? Like you're at least responsible to know what that impulse is?
Yeah, very much. I think I've always been aware of that. So you're saying that you're not as aware of things like that?
Um, I'm aware of it, I think, through afterwards, like seeing how I act after, right? I'm
Okay.
aware of my intentions as a TI user, and I'm like any decision I make, I'm aware of why I made that decision, right? I'm aware of the logic. I know what my intentions were. I know what my intentions are, right? And I've seen that like DE for on the DE side, they're less aware of their intentions. They're more focused on actions, and if they do good actions, then that's what's important. The intentions are less important, and they're not focused. They're maybe even afraid of their intentions in some way.
Yeah, I can see that. I suspect my husband might be DE,
Right.
just by the law of opposites. And that's actually a discussion we have a lot, that I intended to clean the kitchen, and he comes back and says, you intended to, but you didn't do it right. And so
Right.
I guess to him, it's like, it's about the action. Like, you might have meant to, but yet if you look at the evidence, it's not there.
Right. Yeah. So I'm just wondering, what are the animalistic impulses that you're aware of? Can you teach us a little bit about it as an FI user?
Hmm. That's a
I
really
guess it's
loaded
really
question.
personal. Yeah, it is. I guess.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I might be able to think of examples, but I've never really processed that before. So I don't know if I can think of one quite yet.
But like, are you always aware of them in the moment? Like what their influence is on you? What they're pushing you
Oh,
towards?
absolutely.
Really?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
And so is that
Yes.
something that you find FI is doing? Is trying to balance between, is trying to navigate that in some way?
Um, maybe,
Maybe. Okay. Good
maybe
enough.
that, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Um, okay, so just like the way you're answering questions, and then the way that you came into this interview, when just before the interview we had like a couple of minutes, and you said, "Oh yeah, 1 week is long enough to process my type." I'm probably assuming sleep is quite low in your stack. So okay, so that would put you as play second at least, I would say.
Yes.
How, is that something you identify with? Do you see play? How do you recognize it?
Yeah, I see play. Like, when I was in the last 10 months of learning about I haven't ever really locked on too strongly to a particular type. I kind of wanted to learn about all the different types. So I literally, like, it's like I became all the different types. I mean, there's times when I thought I was, lead sleep, just to kind of see what it felt like, because it's like I have to put myself in those shoes to know what it's like. But play has always been something that I have seen in me. Like, I've never seen myself as a play last person. Like, I'm very
Right.
energetic. I'm always on the go. I'm always out doing things, running errands, exercising, like walking, walking my dog. Like, I just, like, literally the actual expending of energy. I do that all the time. And
Yeah.
then I guess and since my play has TE, like, I'm always thinking about what is the best, most efficient way to get something done. And so that's how I use my double observing. Like, if I'm going out and running errands, I'm
I guess
going
we're out of
to,
sync again.
oh, yeah, you froze now.
That was me this time. I'm sure of it. Yep.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah. Rolling with the chaos. Um,
Yeah.
do you feel like if you get stuck on something, you have no problem asking people? Do you feel like you're asking for advice sometimes?
Um, no. And I think that's being an IP. I really don't want to ask people. But and so I kind of mistook that as, oh, am I not play first because I don't want to ask people? But I don't think it's that. I think it's just being an IP of being afraid of the tribe. Like, I don't want to
Yeah.
talk to you. Unfortunately, because I understand, like, I know how useful play is in certain situations, but yeah, unless I have to talk to someone, I really don't want to.
Right. Okay. So you mentioned being
But
afraid of the tribe.
I can, yeah. Yes.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned being afraid of the tribe, and as an IP, I identify with that 100%. How does that express itself for you? Is it something that was always hard for you? Is it something that you're dealing with? Do you feel like
It
the tribe
has,
is this group?
Yes, I've been afraid of the tribe my entire life. Like yeah, I can't escape it. I've found tactics to like lower my anxiety about it, but it has always been there ever since I was a kid. And for me, since I have the FISE, the SF, that's where a lot of my insecurities come from. It's about, um, physical appearance, like looking a certain way, physical things like, um, what do I need to have in order to be accepted by the tribe?
Hmm. Yeah, that's interesting that you would leverage your saviors for acceptance with the tribe, because I do the same thing and it's really backwards.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know,
Yeah.
and I can't stop it, and I'm
Right.
constantly telling myself like it's weird because I'm an IP. I should be all about me, but yet I don't make all of my decisions based on like this is what I want, this is what I
Right.
want to do. It's like how am I going to be accepted, even if that means like
Yeah.
okay, well here's an example, even if that means squashing one of my priorities because the tribe could like this and I want to please the tribe because I want them to be pleased with me.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it
That
is
you want them to
kind of
value you as well.
backwards.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, okay. So, but one thing I caught there is like all of my decisions, I decide, right? You decide for the tribe. It's not letting the
Yes.
tribe decide for themselves, right? And like, I think that's what
Right.
TE is doing a lot of. It's polling the tribe and letting the tribe decide, coming to the tribe with a problem and deciding with them with the TE. So I'm wondering, do you ever get to do that? Do you ever, I mean, even just take responsibility for like, okay, I'm not going to decide for you. I'm going to let's decide together. Is that something that you do sometimes?
Yeah.
And when do you do it? Yeah.
Yes, I do it, but that has been something I've had to learn just over the last few years. I'm still fairly young, and so like that's what the latter half of my 20s have been about, just trying to incorporate or just trying to ask people their opinions more because it's
Right.
like I'm afraid of them based on my perception of what they value. And it's not necessarily like the truth. I didn't go out and ask someone, "Hey, will you like me if I do this or if I don't do this?" It's all like in my head. Um, but I do try
Right.
to, even if it's something as simple like with my family, if we're going somewhere doing something, just asking people like not just saying this is the plan. We can go back and forth and we can talk about it. In my work life, I have to communicate with my coworkers quite a bit, and we have to figure out solutions together and brainstorm together and bounce ideas off. And so that's really helped me a lot in trying
Yeah.
to do that. And then, yeah, like this summer, I went on a vacation with a bunch of friends, and um, there's a lot of planning that went into it, and I had to ask people like, what do you want?
Right. Yeah. Um, I, what do you want feels exactly like FE to me sometimes too. Okay. So I'm wondering if like, if you were to go to the tribe and, put a decision in front of them and let them decide, and then the tribe makes a decision, is that something that maybe would put you off and make you not want to go to them, not let them decide for you? Is that maybe one of the reasons you don't do it?
Depends on the circumstance. Like if I'm in a group of people, I'm gonna go with what the group wants, or
Right.
I'm not gonna, you know, I I can let my own personal biases or feelings go for the couple hours that I'm with friends. Like that's not an issue for me. But if it's like an actual decision in my life, like consulting my family members who might be more involved in my, major life decisions, like yeah, that's more difficult.
Right. And then let's say the tribe does make a decision together that goes against what you want or your values or something like this. Does that happen? And if that happened, what kind of process would you go through would you try to align your values to the tribe?
I might not align my values to the tribe, but I might just go along with it.
Right.
So I might do the actions of going along, but I myself wouldn't change.
Right. Would you speak up? Would you do the blast like I disagree with this, but we'll do it anyways? Or
Maybe. Depends
yeah.
what it is. If it's something, yeah, like if I deem in the moment, is this valuable enough for me to speak up about it or is it not? Most of the
Right.
time it's not. Like I really haven't been in too many crazy issues that have required me to really speak up. But I would if yeah, if I needed to.
I'm wondering if you identify at all with crafting and creating your intentions. Because part of being responsible for the side of intentions is controlling them, changing them, making your intentions, having a bad intention, recognizing that, and making sure you don't have it, making sure you're creating good intentions. Do you identify with doing that at all?
That's harder for me to do.
Right.
Like I know I've done it, but that has not come naturally to me because I
Okay.
associate that more with like sleep processing.
Oh, really? Okay.
Hmm. Yeah, like
Interesting.
asking questions of myself, like, what do I want? Why do I want it? What's the point? Like, really looking at those specific values, like, that's definitely more challenging.
Cool. Um, yeah. So, okay. So just from that, I would say your sleep is probably last. Like, yeah. Also, you seem infodom, so I don't know. It's a guess.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the
Yeah.
right guess. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. So I think so. That's your type, at least. Okay. Do you want to tell me a little bit
that's my
about
type.
how? Yeah. Do you want to tell me a little bit about how you see NI in your life? How you narrow down things? What does it even mean to narrow down?
Yeah. So when I was rewatching my videos of like the ones that I sent to get typed, I constantly heard myself saying, this relates to this, or like I was talking about something. I would channel change a lot because that's what the SE does. But then I would change the channel, but then I would relate it back to something else. I would say, just like this, I do this. Just like this, I do this. And so I do want things to connect in that way.
Right.
Um, but yeah, it's like, I guess with the double observing, planning is not that hard for me. I don't always want to do it, but if I have to plan, I just plan. Like it's not a super demon. Like that's, not like the EPs feel. So I like yes, I think about my NI, but it's kind of just like it is what it is. Like I don't
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. So you were talking a little bit about finding the same concept, finding a concept that relates to whatever it is you're talking about or whatever it is you're doing. It's like, okay, I see this. I'm going to relate it to this concept in order to better understand it, or in order to put it even into context. Is that
Hmm.
something that is that kind of what you were saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that
Yeah.
helps me, yeah, understand. Like if I'm having a conversation with someone, then if you relate it back to something that I know, that'll help me understand it better.
Right. Yeah. Um,
So given that we have the same animals and we're very similar except for our decider axis, like
right.
how do you see the TI-NI sleep? Like, how do you
Yeah.
process that? Because that's something that I know it's a big issue for me. And so I'm trying to figure that out.
Right. Um, So first I want to say, like, the difference between our types is very small, because a lot of what I see as TI is really just the double observing. And like, double observing seems very rational. It seems like it doesn't seem like we would come to, I don't know, a different decision based on that lead function just because of that double observing. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah, like a lot. It's hard for me to separate out the double observing from the TI, and then when I see you doing it, it looks like TI a lot to me, even
Mm,
though I know it's not. Yeah.
yeah. Well, you do
Um,
hear I am double activated on TE. So, like, you're going to
right.
hear a lot of the thinking and feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, like, you just there, you providing a reason for, like, without. Yeah. Lots
Yeah.
of good double.
I,
Yeah.
I, yeah, provide a lot of reasons.
And okay, so about the sleep. so we need to process things. We need to come to decisions. We need to, not just go, go, go. We need to, sit down, think about what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, why we're going to do it, what happened to us. All of that, it seems like just organizing everything that's happening, everything that's going to happen, all of our ideas, things like this. It's just a lot of clutter in our head. And then the sleep is just sort of getting rid of that clutter. It's making it's funny because it's like the goal of the sleep isn't to find solutions for me. It's not to, it can be, but it's more to just sort of make sure that, I remember what all of the stuff that sort of maybe slips through the cracks that I'm not paying attention to. And then once you start doing that process, then you start getting realizations. You start seeing more of the big picture. You start, things come out of the sleep. Just the natural order of organizing stuff. Good realizations come out of it. And I think a lot of people might associate like these realizations and this contemplation on sleep, but sleep is essentially not that. It's like this. It's this creating it's also creating a worldview in some way. It's also figuring out what your worldview is, what you stand for, what your conclusions. Organizing all the stuff you've gathered to come to some kind of conclusion for yourself as well. Yeah. So do you identify with that at all?
I do, and I guess I'm wondering if we see this similar since we both have it last. Like,
right.
Is it something that you do, but it just takes longer to get there, or do you feel like, oh no, I only do it every few days, or is it do you feel like you're really like missing it, or is it just in the priority of the consume, play, blast? It comes afterwards.
Right. So I'm not sure that my animals are working the way that like the order is saying, but I'll just talk about my experience in this. It's sometimes there does feel like a little bit of a tidal wave in the sleep where it's like there's a lot on my mind and I can't focus on anything else. There's a lot on my mind and I can't play, I can't blast. I need to just go and process. I need to like I'm watching a video, for example, and then something happens and I feel like, okay, I got to pause this video. I got to go and process something. I'll process it, then I'll come back and I'll keep watching.
Okay. So
yeah, do you get that kind of thing?
I don't know how this relates. Yeah, I do. Like it makes sense to me. And one of the things I noticed, like my sleep is FINI, and like so like with my own feelings, I always know what I'm feeling, but
Right.
it scares me as well. Like sometimes like the dark feelings or the negative things. And so it's like I will run from my negative feelings
Oh,
because that means I have to like sleep process and go back and forth and try to figure out what is actually happening. And so for most
right.
of my life, like as I get older, I'm working on it more. But definitely like as a kid and through college and early adulthood, like I was just kind of a train wreck because I wouldn't dive into those dark feelings. And so for a while, I kind of thought, oh well, I must be a demon feeler because I'm terrified of my feelings, but I'm not.
Uh-huh.
It's just like I think that's where the sleep last comes in because I'm scared of them.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just wondering if I can parallel the process a little bit. So you'll get these dark feelings that'll build up. Like I guess dark feelings is more unresolved feelings, or are they two different things?
It can be unresolved, but if it's some kind of negative feeling, like if there's an issue with someone and like someone hurt me or I hurt someone else, like
Right.
if I don't deal with those feelings, like it's like they're always with me, but they're locked away deep inside, like, with a
Right.
lock on the door, like I can't get into it. And so, but I know it's there. It's like it haunts me.
Yeah. Yeah. So like that's what I was talking about, the unresolved. So it's like if the
Yeah.
feeling is unresolved, once the feeling is resolved, is it still dark? Or once it's resolved, it's there's no more darkness.
It's better, but typically the types of unresolved feelings are a recurring pattern. So maybe that one situation that I resolved is
Hmm.
okay, but that same pattern is going to keep happening because I haven't built up the exercise of like working on that particular thing.
Okay, yeah, that's really good. The overall patterns of your feelings, and once you've seen that, once you've figured out the patterns of your feelings, that's the organization. That's when you'll see, okay, I need to make a change because this pattern is going to keep coming back unless change.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly. So I can feel if it's coming up. I have two options. Like I can deal with it or I can push it away. And so what
right.
I've been learning is like I know when it's creeping up, and so then I can make the conscious decision to not push it under the rug.
Okay. Yeah, that's really good. Okay, and then okay, so something that I've been theorizing about consume play, um, is that it's much better at accepting suffering rather than wanting to change it. So we'll all run into some kind of suffering in our lives, and our choice is either to fight back against it and try to change the world so that the suffering doesn't happen, or to just accept it and just um, and not push back against it. I'm wondering if you see yourself on that spectrum.
Yeah, but I'd say it takes work to get to the acceptance. Like I don't
Yeah,
always
of
feel that at
course.
first. That's
Right.
not my gut reaction, but yes, I always do get to the acceptance part.
Right.
Um, but I might try to change it at first. And I don't know if that's just like a demon control thing. Like I hadn't controlled enough and now I have to make up for it and over control. And then it implodes because I just destroyed it. Um, so that might be
Right.
it.
Yeah. Um, have there been things in your life that you just couldn't accept and that you had to change?
Um, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't have a
Do you
specific
have?
example. Um,
Yeah.
I'll keep thinking.
Okay. Yeah. Um, is there anything that you want to promote? Um,
About myself.
yourself, a channel, a message, something like this.
Oh, no, I don't have a channel or anything like that.
Right.
I guess I just say like for someone who could have a similar type to me, it's just it
Yeah.
really is like my message would be about that sleep processing that like when you feel like those issues coming up, like you have to deal with them, especially if you are married or you're in a relationship, because what you don't deal with is going to come back and bite you and it's going to affect you and your partner. And so I'd say, have the courage to deal with them and have the courage to be honest with your spouse as well and about your partner's faults too, because the team is only as strong as its weakest link. And so if your partner has problems that and you have problems, you're going to keep going past each other. And so I just encourage you to really deal with that in the moment, the pain now versus pain later. It's easy to get caught up and years can go by and nothing's really changed. And I think that is like one of my goals in life of trying to better myself and trying to avoid future complications.
Right. Yeah, that's really good. We have someone that gave us an analogy for us. The less you push under the rug, the more free you are to dance on it.
There we go. Exactly. And I totally get that. Yeah. It shouldn't
Yeah.
be scary. It shouldn't be something that I'm afraid of, but yet I am. So it's what I have to work
Right.
on.
Can we unpack that a little bit? So do you see how does it come out in a negative way? Like, what are you avoiding by doing the sleep, and what are you afraid of coming out if you don't do the sleep?
I'm avoiding having a difficult conversation with someone, the
Okay.
conflict. And, maybe that does because I am feminine on the tribe.
Feminine DE. Yep. Yeah, that's really
And
good. Yeah.
so that's one thing. And another thing is like if I think about like something that I've done, maybe something wrong that I've done, then I have to feel not feel bad forever, but I have to feel those like negative feelings in the moment, and that's uncomfortable. And so, yeah, I guess it's just I don't want to be in the
Oh, I
uncomfortability.
see. Yeah. Okay. So like it's like going through that tunnel to solve your issues is difficult. like, you know, it's better on the other side, but you just still have to go through it. You have to go through the
Yes.
pain to get
Yeah.
there.
And whether it's
Yeah.
just pain with myself or pain with someone else, because the way I've lived my life for a while is just like, it's fine, you know? But obviously, like when you're married, you can't do that because it will come
Mhm.
back and bite you. But I kind of make that decision depending on who the relationship is with. Like if I think that person is worth it, like I don't
Oh, wow.
mind I don't mind conflict. I really don't. If I think the relationship is worth it. Like if I avoid conflict with you, probably don't really want our relationship to progress.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So I do value, or like I can prioritize the relationships
Right.
in that
Because like
way.
the conflict is especially if you start it, it's for the future. Like you don't just
Yes.
conflict. Yeah. In a
Right. Because it
relationship,
creates,
especially.
if you have a conflict with someone and you talk it out, like it will bond you, that it grows
Right.
intimacy. And so I think like, yeah, that's something that I do.
Oh, the
I kind of,
intimacy.
yeah, get afraid of.
Yeah. I was more thinking along the lines of like conflicts will keep returning and unless you solve them. And so optimally in a relationship, you want to solve your conflicts as they pop up so that they don't come back. They don't
Yeah,
like
no, that's
the
definitely
patterns.
one, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's definitely part of it. But then it's yeah, like I've always kind of feared like letting people get too close because of the vulnerability, and that's hard for me. So I will avoid
That's
it
interesting.
to
Yeah.
not go down that path.
Okay, so that's really interesting. Okay, so I've seen TE DOMs, for example, so much more comfortable sharing their FI because they just they don't I don't want to use the word value, but yeah, like they don't really value the FI as much. So they'll share it. They'll broadcast it a
Yeah,
lot easier. Whereas like
yeah, I can
I
see
don't
that.
know that many FIs. FIs are for more rare for me, but it doesn't seem like you're broadcasting your FI that much. You're keeping it to
No,
yourself. Yeah.
I'm not. And that was something that really confused me too, because I was like, I know I consume, but like I don't share my consume that much unless you're a trusted source. Unless
Right.
like if I
Yeah.
share my consume with you, you know that like I want our relationship to develop because I am afraid it all goes back to the same NI concept. I'm afraid that you won't accept me. And so,
Right.
unless I know that this is a safe place, I won't share those things with you. And so, that's just the juxtaposition of the I'm lead FI. I know exactly what my priorities are, but like if I don't process it, it's just like a big circle.
Yeah. I'm wondering if you see yourself as your most valuable commodity, and sharing yourself with someone is the most valuable thing you can do, or am I a little bit
Yeah,
off base? Yeah.
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And so, okay, so letting someone into your FI, you just have to feel like, what does the safety mean? Like you feel like you'll be accepted? You feel like you won't be judged? Or
Yeah, like I won't be judged. And so oftentimes it might have to start with the other person starting first. Maybe you tell me something about you, and then I can tell you something about me. Just kind of like that back and forth thing. Um,
yeah.
yeah.
And then once you've gone through that process, and that means you're more vulnerable with the person. Does that mean they have more of an effect on you? They can hurt you more?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
They know too much.
right. And like if they hurt you, then that's like a rejection of you. Is that what it feels like?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly what it feels like.
Okay. Well, really good. We're gonna stop because we're getting over time, but thank you. I really
Okay.
appreciate it, Shelby. Great
Yeah,
talk.
absolutely.
Thank you everyone for watching. Have a good one.
Yeah. Bye guys.